This last February, BVSD hosted the annual Regional Science Fair completely virtual. Dozens of students, ranging all the way from 6th to 12th grade, presented their carefully researched projects, but without the gratification of doing so around their peers. These are the experiences, thoughts, and ventures of only a handful of the numerous and diverse group of inspired individuals who poured their heart and soul into this year's science exhibition.
My name is Maria Silver, and I did a project that talks about rain gauge undercatch in a 4-inch rain gauge, and this right here is a 4-inch rain gauge. For whatever reason, sometimes this will catch a little bit less, so I'm trying to figure out, well, how much does this guy normally undermeasure, and can I create an adjustment formula based on conditions known, and then be able to account for that bit of precipitation loss? I tested and found out that wind and temperature can affect how much a gauge undercatches, but I was very upset that I never won anything when I participated in the middle school science fairs, and I decided this year, senior year, I'm going to come back and I'm going to have the best project ever. I'm going to definitely win something, and I definitely want to. I placed second in my category. I was pretty confident just because I thought this project was just so cool, and there actually aren't that many research studies out there dealing with this particular type of gauge, versus sometimes I felt like maybe I'm doing a project someone else has already done. Why repeat it if it's a well-documented study? I might not have actually joined the class had it not been for the pandemic, since I had a schedule conflict. The pandemic was what caused me to take the class, so I can't really blame it for dealing me bad cards. There are a lot of things where I'm like, I hate the pandemic, I'm like, everything's bad, and this failed because of the pandemic, but yet there's so many things where it's, had this not happened, this wouldn't have happened, and in turn, I wouldn't have done this. And yeah, I didn't give up.
Catherine Ellis. The kids call me Ellis, and I'm a science teacher at Monarch High School. So this year, because everything is virtual, the role of the teacher, the classroom teacher at the science fair was different than it usually is. My role with the science fair was being a member of the science review committee. So all the students who want to participate in the science fair do a paperwork set to make sure that they're following International Science and Engineering Fair rules. So I am the adult sponsor for all of the students at Monarch who participate in science fair. Every different student will have a different reason they're motivated. Some kids want to solve a problem that directly, personally impacted them. Some kids are following a passion, an obsession that they've had since early childhood. So kids deciding to pursue science careers in general, that's a wide variety of reasons. But I would say overall, children are born scientists. And if we can keep that excitement about science alive from when they discover their first cool rock, or their first cool creepy crawly thing, or the first question that comes to them, let's just take a look at the program. 2 years ago, our pre-registration, I had 49 students pre-enrolled for Science Research Seminar. They're all amazing. Every single one of them was outstanding. And the only reason some kids moved on to states and others didn't is because in a given category like medicine and health, you might have 20 or 30 projects and there's still only first, second, and third place. The kids that didn't even make it further, it was really a function of the category they were entered in, because their projects were at the same level of quality as everyone else. They were all amazing. I seriously can't pick one out. So did these kids do what other kids have done in the past? No. Does it mean it's worse? No. I said, we're astronauts this year. All of us are going to learn to communicate the way astronauts communicate to Earth. So the fact that the kids had to do something different doesn't mean it was better or worse. It was different, and it's a useful set of skills that everyone's going to need going forward. What I want you or anyone else who's interested in BVSD Science Fair and the BVSD Science Research Seminar to know is this. I get emails every year from kids writing to thank me for this program. I'm not personally responsible for the program. I'm just the messenger. I'm the person who delivers it. But thanking me because they're getting an internship because of the work they did here, because they're getting a paid research job because of the work they did here. They're getting into the graduate school of their choice because they got a head start working here, because they get scholarships, summer job and research opportunities because of this work that they've done. So the science fair is the first validation of their work, but that is not the last validation of the work these students do. These kids have something on their resume that nobody can take away that is very real and valued in the scientific community. And it leads to lots of opportunities for them.
Hello, my name is Chloe Seebeck. I'm an 8th grader at Sacred Heart of Jesus School in Boulder, Colorado. So I tested the effect of essential oil on ascorbic acid decay in citrus juice, and I chose this project because I overall really like science and testing subjects related to chemistry, and I enjoy testing projects that can be beneficial to the world and basically make a change in some problems that may not be super well known, strike attention of people, and I wanted to do something minor but also be impactful as well. But from a very young age, I started doing science projects. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we all are striving to have good health, and also in developing countries, they struggle from scurvy disease, which is vitamin C deficiency. They don't have any government support for electricity, which powers things like refrigerators. So they cannot drink freshly squeezed orange juice because they can't keep it cold. What they do is they send this orange juice to the developing countries, they pasteurize the orange juice, and they pull the oxygen out of it, and they actually store the orange juice in tanks for up to a year at sometimes. And then the manufacturers chemically alter the flavor by adding potential cancer-causing chemicals. So as they're drinking the orange juice, they may think that they are, keeping themselves healthy, but really they're just doing damage to their body. So I tested essential oil, which I had previously already researched, so that I could possibly use essential oil as a natural alternative. I don't know if I'm going to continue doing it in high school, so just wanted to, make it my best. Every ounce of effort that I have into my, interviews for the science fair, and I ended up with some pretty great awards. I won the best in show for the junior division. First place for chemistry. I got a recognition from the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Metric Association Award, and I'm a state qualifier. I hope I remembered them all. I think kind of the fun of science fair is being in a big ballroom with all of the projects and looking at everyone's ideas. So that definitely disappointed me that it's virtual, but I do actually think that it definitely has some perks. I think that the judges do get a better understanding of your project. The young scientists are the ones that are going to change our world. I think we not often recognize that it's people like me who are going to make those changes and make the world the way we picture it to be. So if I had any advice, I would just tell the young students to do what they love and continue on with what they want to do, because they definitely have a big purpose in our community.
So my name is Kevin Ember, and I go to Peak as a senior. I think of myself as really outgoing and curious and pretty determined too. And so that was reflected through my project. I was really looking forward to delve deeper into some part of AP biology. And specifically, I liked protein pathways, and so I talked to a professor who's really good at receptors in the brain, and he studies seizures. My project was the ligand binding to the CB1 receptor in an attempt to prevent seizures. And it was more anecdotal evidence than anything. Just because something works on paper, like as a simulation, doesn't mean that that's how it plays out in real life. So like, for example, the endocannabinoids, or the ones that are in your body already that bind to the receptor, have a pretty low binding energy compared to other molecules. So that doesn't mean that necessarily it's a bad molecule for it. So it's kind of like there's multiple factors, and I'm just testing the binding energy. It still isn't known how it all really plays out in preventing seizures. I think biochem is cool, but I've never really seen the applications of it. And then going into this project, I got to delve deeper than I ever have before, and I realized that I really do love biochem, and that's probably what I want to study in college. I was never nervous about the competition itself in the sense that I wasn't scared of getting last place. I was more scared of how to put my project together. Like, I got burnt out at a certain point just because my testing, it was all online, right? Like, for everybody it was. I was beginning as I was finishing, if that makes sense. The biggest challenge was, I think, talking to my professor, which is gonna sound weird, but like talking to someone with that much more experience than me, it's always intimidating to ask a clarifying question. There's a certain type of like criteria you'd expect talking to a college professor where you don't want to sound stupid, and you just have to get over it and realize that at the end of the day they just want to teach you and they aren't there to criticize you for not knowing everything that they know. It was weird having to present online. It really took all the formality out of it. You didn't really have to dress up. There wasn't any in-person connection, I'd say. That's another thing where it is sad, but at the same time, like, it's really hard to have everything done online, so you can't really be mad with the district. Like, mistakes happen. I'm just thankful for the people that did put on the science fair this year despite of the pandemic. I think that it was really challenging, and even though there were some hiccups along the way, I'm still really grateful that I got the opportunity to meet my professor and get a project out there. So I think I'm happy that we still had the science fair this year, and thank you to all those that make it happen.
So I'm April. I'm a junior at Fairview High School. The project I did was in the biosciences, and it had incorporated computer science as well. My project was on how clustering affects the western honeybee and its ability to transfer food throughout the entire hive. And I used a computer science model to simulate what honeybees do rather than watch a biological experiment. Clustering is how the bees how they aggregate together and form groups basically, and how they're able to transfer information and food to each other. In freshman year, I had done this CU Science Discovery program, and I met the mentor that I actually worked with for my science fair project this year, and I thought that it would be really interesting if I could design my own experiment and then do data analysis, and I thought those are really great skills to have. COVID didn't affect me as much as probably some of my other friends who did science fair as well. Since my experiment was a computer science simulation, I was mostly just doing it from my computer with occasional phone calls to my mentor in case I needed any help. This year I wasn't able to do that, but I was able to see the people who did win awards and then look at their titles and their projects. So definitely less than I would be in person because of COVID, but I still think I was given the opportunity to look at people's experiments well enough. I was really nervous at first. I joined the Google Meet, and it was kind of like a webinar. And so I joined it, and my heart was beating pretty fast. I thought, I wasn't quite sure if what place I would get, but I didn't really care that much because I was glad that I was able to finish my entire project in time. I think I got third in my category of plant and animal sciences, and a special award for in vitro biology. During my experimentation process, I had to write code for counting the number of clusters inside of the arena that we created, and writing the code was definitely the hardest part. Of course, that was mainly my science fair project. I've done coding before, but I've never really used this program that my mentor has been using in her lab. I'm just really glad that I was able to do science fair this year, even though it was online, yeah. I've thought about doing biology or doing political science and being pre-law, since I do some other activities in high school. Future debate probably is what takes up most of my time, and I was able to squeeze in science fair. But I was overall just really excited to be able to see the people and what their titles or what their projects were about, and just learning more about people and students in the BVSD community who really enjoy science as well.
Okay, so my name is Amrita Seni. I'm a 9th grader at Peak to Peak Charter School, and I really enjoy going outside and being with nature. As you can probably tell, I really like plants and flowers. So this year, my project was testing different cotton species to find out which one was the most absorbent to make more sustainable, absorbent textiles and materials that are cotton-based, feminine hygiene products. What inspired me to do this particular project where I worked with menstrual equity, I don't think it's fair that, some girls don't get to go to school because they don't have access to products. Oftentimes they can't get access because it's so stigmatized. To solve the big issue that we have, not just in developing countries, but literally in our communities in the United States as well. I didn't really know what project to do because most of the projects are really complicated, so it's a little intimidating. I was definitely interested in science before this project, and I was also interested in social change. But before I kind of kept them separate, I didn't really think they could intertwine. And yeah, I mean, I definitely like in-person interactions. I just think there's meaning in that can't be replaced with a virtual fair. But this year, because of the way that it was laid out, we had more time. I mean, there were definitely many challenges. I did run into some challenges with my research itself, like just experimental things that I did not expect to go wrong or I did not anticipate for. But I think the biggest thing was actually just getting this project done and then persevering through my challenges when things didn't go right when I was trying to test my cotton for absorbency. So I had to email a bunch of people that I thought would have access to different cotton species and varieties from all over the world, and it took me a while to find people who would be willing to send me so many samples. But I actually used my real life experiences in this project, which was, I thought, really cool. And it really showed me I could use science to actually make positive impacts in the world. Small changes can make a big difference. That's kind of my philosophy that I use to guide my social change and also my scientific.
My name's Cooper Hanley. I'm a senior at Monarch High School. I'm really passionate about medical research and chemistry research. And for my SOS project this year, I'm working on investigating something called the endocannabinoid system. So endocannabinoids are molecules which are synthesized in your body, which resemble those that are found in marijuana. And so what I'm doing is investigating the effects of so-called phytocannabinoids, molecules found in marijuana like THC and CBD, on the body's innate endocannabinoid system. It has been shown to be implicated in the maturation of the adolescent brain. It's involved in regulating the release of neurotransmitters and mediating the effects of pain. It's important to know how taking marijuana impacts it, what the risks of doing so are. This project is really seeking to elucidate that because no one's investigated that before. My uncle took CBD for treating his epilepsy. And so that was something that motivated me. Also, the fact that CBD could be prescribed to treat neurological diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's was also impactful to me because my grandmother has Alzheimer's. And so seeing that this research could have such a significant impact on the quality of life for so many people was something that I found really interesting. And so when I saw the opportunity to do this project, I jumped at it. For me, this was really just an interesting exercise, learning how to do pharmaceutical research. For the circumstances, I was really thrilled with how they did. In a normal year, I love being in person because when you walk into Glenn Miller Ballroom at CU and you just see all of the projects out there and everybody's kind of got that nervous anticipation and you can just sort of feel this palpable energy. I really like feeling like you're in this microcosm of student science. So I definitely like in person better, but I'm thrilled that I was able to participate virtually. COVID concerns, but it couldn't really wait any longer. The science fair has shaped the trajectory that I'm going to go with my life. It's shown me that scientific research is really the area in which I'm most passionate. Without this experience and without the opportunity to present my work to established scientists and to discuss the things that I'm fascinated about with my fellow students, I ultimately thank Science Fair for putting me on the course that I'm going on right now. And for that, I'm really grateful.